Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Goodness.
You're listening to The Benji and Nick Show. That's right. Yeah, I nearly said you're listening to the Big Finish pod. Getting all confused here. So what happens when you do two podcasts in a row? But yes, this is the Benji and Nick Show. And what do we chat about here, Nick?
Well, Benji, we always start close to the microphone, just talking about any old rubbish. No, the cult TV. Really, we discuss cult TV, and just noticed my wife has hung up another picture in my shed.
Oh, was it of anything exciting?
It's the National Museum poster from the end of the first Matt Smith season.
That's a nice thing to have on the wall.
Which the designer gave me. Yeah, he just gave it to me at the end of the shoot, and I framed it, and it's on my wall. I don't know whether it's generally available, but yeah.
Well, that's a nice little touch, isn't it?
Just suddenly looking over in the corner, there it was. I feel like she's even put it there since this morning. Who knows? Yes. Yes. And we read out your emails to us, sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. And we discuss a particular programme from the televisual world of cultishness. That's cultishness sounds weird. That we have randomly, spontaneously decided on discussing the week before. Yeah, that's what we do. And then we run a competition. Not always, but sometimes, and we're certainly running one this week. And then we spontaneously choose next week's topic. We've no idea which programme we're going to choose. And maybe one of us secretly has something in mind. Something is emerging in my mind. But anyway...
Well, that was the menu. It's a nice job you've done there. A really nice summary of events, so to speak.
And Benji, what is it we're discussing this week?
This week we're going to be discussing that London Weekend Television drama Piece of Cake about Spitfire pilots in the Second World War. Very us, isn't it, Nick?
Very us, very us. So that was the starter.
It was indeed. It's time now.
We're on the main course, really. I suppose maybe the emails are the starter.
I'd say the emails are a good starter, but for those who are listening who are unsure who's who, might be your first time here, because people, I can imagine that there must be a few people that Google various television programs, come across them and hear a podcast talking about it. So you might be listening in 3 years' time. Yeah. And just specifically, so if you don't know who we are, my name is Benji.
And I'm Nick.
Marvellous stuff. Well, I suppose it's that time straight away to get into the emails. And if you want to email in to us here at the Benji and Nick Show, you can do it in one of two ways. The traditional method is to send it to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. Yes. You pop that in your emails and you're away. Of course, the non-traditional method, but a very easy method, is to go onto our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/The Benji Nick Show. Give it a like if you're hovering, thank you very much. And click the button. There's a little email us or chat to us or send us a thingy button. That'll be there, and have a little chat with us. We love to hear from you.
Yeah, and yes, there's a button that says "Have a thingy."
Have a thingy button. But Nick, do you want to take us away with the first email?
Yeah.
He says sipping his water.
Water. I don't know. It's not got water in it, so it's not water.
Water.
Hi, brother. Subject: show suggestions and pathetic previous email whinge. Date was the 30th of August 2018, luckily, sent at 17:42 hours.
Good year.
From Richard Burton. And I'm guessing it's neither the famous explorer or the famous actor, both of whom are dearly departed. Obviously sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. Hello, affable podcasters, ! Says Richard Burton. If only I could do a Richard Burton impersonation, that would be great, wouldn't it?
That would be the winner, yeah.
A mate of mine can. George Telford does a great Richard Burton. Anyway, slightly wary about sending another email after what happened to the last one. What we did we stamp on it? I thought that suggesting I remember now. I thought that suggesting never watching Starfleet / X-Bomber would make a good joke to be quickly laughed off, especially as my email went on bluntly about how it didn't live up to my memories of it.
You can blame Jamie Anderson for that one.
Well, this is what he's saying. He said, not only did the show get reviewed, my puppet-slapping email was read out by Jerry Anderson's son. Fortunately, because I was ill, you see, and still am, but I'm soldiering on. Fortunately, I was sitting outside a gate. What does that mean?
I don't know what a gate is. Is it like a...
I feel like it's a typo.
Let's have a look at guides. Perhaps it's like a... Oh no, it's a thing.
Is it? What is it?
It is a French... it's actually a French word, so it's I with the little hat on top of it. Is it guite, maybe? Or I don't know how to say...
Is that called a circumflex, the little hat?
I thought it was an umlaut. What's that?
No, that's 2 dots.
That's 2 dots, and not to be confused with an omelette. It says here, a gite or a geet is a holiday home available for rent.
Gîte, of course. Yes, I've heard of it. Yes, a producer I worked with kept going on about having a gîte. I think we eventually found out it was a shed.
I like the one that's on offer on Wikipedia here. It says Gîte du Vulcan.
Oh, on the planet Vulcan.
But it's spelt Vulcan like VOL so not the same. But I like the idea. Anyway, carry on, old boy.
Spock! So, yes, a gîte, drinking wine when I heard it. Oh, very nice, which dulls the horror. Thunderbirds and Space 1999 were favourite parts of my childhood TV experience, so I felt a bit like I'd kicked a puppy. On the plus side, Jamie's review of the show was really excellent, authoritative and informed, and the details about model shots were very interesting. Well, that's the thing with Jamie, you see. As I said, he did a much better job than me. He really researched and he's a very thorough professional sort of chap. Yes. Anyway, a thing just came up on my Skype saying I've got a poor connection with you, but you seem fine.
You seem fine to me as well.
It's now going to go... They crashed. Continuing with Richard Burton's email. Anyway, no one could have believed... Sorry, that was me starting with the worlds. Forget it, Nick. Forget it. You can't do Richard Burton's voice. Anyway, in the interests of balance, I'd like to balance on a piece of string. No, I'd like to suggest a few programs without pre-ambushing them. No, it's not pre-ambushing, it's pre-abusing. I wish I could learn to read. In no particular order, Chelmsford 1, 2, 3 for Benji's history interest. Do you know that one?
Vaguely remember it. I just had a good... Because I remember it's a comedy, isn't it? About...
Yes, I remember it, and I remember not being interested in it at the time. I think I saw lots of trailers for it.
It's made in the 80s and the 90s, so I'm 88 and 1990, so maybe I'll like it, because if it was, I've sort of the view that I find comedy certainly
quite unfunny.
Recent comedy, well, comedy lately isn't. I don't know. Haven't found any sitcoms that particularly do it for me. But I like to think that the 80s and the 90s is a fairly safe bet that it'll be quite amusing. But who knows? But yeah, I'll give that one a whirl.
I saw a program about laughter recently.
Was it funny?
Well, it was fascinating. It basically says that as you get older, you become more discerning about what triggers your laughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they said when you're younger, there are laughters which we do as part of a sort of conversational etiquette, which aren't fake, but they are there not necessarily because you're that amused.
They're not truthful laughter. It's not like you don't die of laughing.
But that's the thing. It is truthful. It's not like it's horrible and false. It's just it's there for a different purpose. It's not that kind of helpless laughter when something just really amuses you. And what they said is that the skill to recognise the difference between that kind of laughter and genuine, this is uncontrollably funny for me laughter, is a skill that human beings get better at the older they get. So I feel terrible saying this to you, Benji, but they say like people in their 20s just have not developed that skill as well as an old bloke like me, and you just get to recognise it on an instinctive level, and you don't, because you haven't had as much experience of it. So like kids can't tell the difference between a and a real belly laugh.
Of course,
to them it's all laughter, and it makes them laugh because they just want to join in. And I find it's really rare these days that anything really, even though a lot of my life, if anyone out there knows me, and Benji knows me, a lot of my life is about humour, isn't it? We mess about a lot, and I say lots of deliberately silly things, and it's all. I love laughter. I love to see people laugh, and I love to join in with laughter. But I'm talking about television and entertainment generally. I remember, you see, this is awful. I remember just the other night, something in particular made me really chortle. I was on my own, because also apparently you're like 30% or 30 times more likely to laugh if you're with other people.
Yeah, I can imagine that, yeah.
The same thing won't make you laugh when you're on your own. But there was something and I can't remember what it was. Isn't it awful? It was really, and I just couldn't quite contain myself. And I remember thinking, because I think Steph was upstairs, and I remember thinking, God, she'll think that I've gone slightly bonkers just chortling to myself down here. Anyway, what a massively pointless
laughter
tangent.
Is the food of love, is it? No, I don't know what that is.
Play on. Logan's Run, Richard suggests, bit American, but I watched it when very young, and it's stuck in my memory. I remember it being on. I mean, there was the movie, and then there was the series. I don't remember the series being that good, but I could be wrong. Could be wrong about that. The St. Trinian's films.
I was reminded about those the other day, actually.
The original ones.
The original ones, yeah. I have to admit, I remember when I watched them, I thought they were quite funny, actually, quite amusing.
Yeah, George Cole played a character, a spiv.
Very possibly, I can't remember that.
That was this piano music used to play as he came out of the bushes. I can't remember. It was sort of, I can't remember his name now. Write in and let me know. Shaman, I don't know what that is. I presume Richard was referring to the film Logan's Run. Have you ever seen the film Logan's Run?
I've not seen the film or the series. I've just never been a Logan's Run guy.
Well, you should watch the film. It's a bit of 1970s nonsense.
I'm just looking what Shaman is.
Michael York and Jenny Agutter. Jenny Agutter, I think she had it in her contract in those days that she had to get naked in every film she was in. And she does pointlessly and briefly take all her clothes off in this. And then immediately put some other clothes on. You just think, what? That was just...
Well, why did you do that?
We've got to get a bit of a flash in here.
Well, I suppose,
poor woman was subjected to that humiliation for no reason whatsoever.
That's amazing, isn't it? How, these films, that's often the case, isn't it? You think, why is somebody taking their clothes off, really? I find it terribly tiresome with modern historical programs. Everybody's getting naked and having sex, and there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes you think, well, this has been shoehorned in. Thinking like, why does this need to happen?
That was unintentionally obscene, probably what you said then. I mean, it's the same when I'm recording the Dalek voices. They keep telling me, Nick, get them off.
But it adds to performance, doesn't it?
It makes me get on with it very quickly.
Well, I mean, we all know, Dalek Khan, that was all about taking the clothes off, wasn't it?
He was completely naked, yeah. You're looking up Shaman, are you?
Yeah, it says here, British television crime drama series, ITV1, starring Clive Owen. Based on the Nick Sharman books.
Potential James Bond.
South London private detective Nick Sharman. Doesn't actually say an awful lot about what happens. It says here, Detective Inspector Jack Robber, a seedy and cunning police officer. Roberta Taylor as Aggie. Guest stars Ray Winston, Keith Allen, and Samantha Janus.
Quite a cast.
Yeah, it's not a lot that's going on here. Pilot episode 95 on VHS.
Blah blah
blah. Yeah, not a lot to offer really.
The Paradise Club, the last episode of Blake 7, and Battle of the Planets. Please do Battle of the Planets. Please, please, please. Grin, dignity, fail. Even if you don't do it, I can imagine Nick's face when he's made to sit through a whole inexplicable episode. I did watch Battle of the Planets back in the day. I don't want to see it again. Your podcasts are something I look forward to each week. Long may it continue. Thanks, Richard.
Oh, thanks, Richard.
Do you want to do this second email?
I would love to. This one's from Alex Pass. Subject, Guest Admiral (brackets Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea).
Yes.
Sent on the 28th of the 8th, 2018, 1352. Another great year. To podcast at nicholasbriggs.com. Let's see what happened in 1352.
Alex is, while you're looking up, Alex is answering, because I said I didn't remember any episodes of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea when there were any guest admirals.
Of course. Yeah, that was that a few podcasts ago, wasn't that?
That was last time.
Was that last time? Good
I'm
gosh.
pretty certain it was, yeah.
Gosh. Well, I can confirm here, 1352. It doesn't actually look like an awful lot really happened, actually. Moroccan traveller reports existence of a few instruments. The Earldom of Kent is extinct. The Iranian Catholic Church relocates to Kiev. There genuinely isn't actually an awful lot going on this year. Fighting allies of the Byzantine War scores its first victory. The Pope, different Pope, and that's it really.
Different Pope.
Yeah, Popes changed, don't they? Come and go.
They do,
But at least the good thing is, though, 1352 was also the time that Alex Pass sent this email, and so here it is. Ask and thee shall receive, or something like that. Anyway, reminds me of Diamonds Are Forever. Ask and you shall receive, Mrs. Whistler. That's Mr. Wint, or Mr. Kidd. Further to my last email, Admiral Park, played by actor Gary Merrill, appeared in the Menfish episode from Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea Season 2, whilst Admiral Nelson, great man, was called to a special conference in Washington, not Geneva or Peru. Little Who joke there, like it.
There's a brigadier.
Richard Basehart still got his name in the credits, whilst Merrill was a guest star. Nelson was also absent from the following episode, The Mechanical Man, although on this occasion Basehart's lines were apparently just given to other members of the bridge crew. Ain't Wikipedia a wonderful thing? Off. From Big Al, sent from my diving bell in the belly of a whale. Cheers, boss.
That's great info, thank you.
It is really brilliant.
Subject, Great Pod But...
Don't like a but.
2018, the 27th of August at 08:47. Quite an early bird, Adam Williams. Surprised to hear Benji having a shot at physicist stroke TV presenter Brian Cox in your latest episode. Earnest? Yes. Offensive? I wouldn't say so. Anyway, life would be boring if everyone agreed on everything, and I did enjoy the rest of the ep as I've enjoyed the previous ones. Adam Williams. I have to say I'm with Adam here, Benji. I thought your unprovoked attack on Brian Cox was, and you couldn't even remember his name. I had to tell you his name. I think what possessed you? Okay, he's full of enthusiasm and earnest. Well, this offensive.
Is it. He's full of enthusiasm. That's great, and I think he's really good for really good for people learning about science and the world and everything like that. Nothing against the man, just gets in my wick a bit. I'm more of a Carl Sagan kind of guy,
Really, I find Carl Sagan a bit. People at the time. I don't want to speak ill of the dead, and he did marvelous things. Carl Sagan. He did that series Cosmos.
Oh yeah,
we're all fascinated by the American pronunciation of Cosmos and Cosmos. It's like Colin Baker.
But no, I have to say, there's nothing wrong. Brian Cox just gets on my wick a bit. If you like science, one of my favourite programmes, though, is the one that Stephen Hawking made a few years ago. And I think it was like a mixture of Stephen Hawking, his voice box narrating it, and also Benedict Cumberbatch reading in for him as well. Absolutely brilliant programme about like science and like the possibilities and world and parallel dimensions and time travel. Absolutely spot. There's a brilliant thing actually about that I like, and he says that he threw a party for time travellers, and he said they
turn up.
Yeah, and nobody did. He said that not one person turned up, which leads him to believe that surely. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe they just were busy travelling somewhere else that year.
Yeah, but maybe they did turn up, but then they went back and changed it so that he didn't know that they turned up.
Precisely. This is time, isn't it? Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, no, Adam, appreciate, each their own.
It's not offensive though, is he? Anyway, This one's a completely inappropriate email from Heather Coe, who subject is show, sent on the 23rd of August at 23:57. So I'm thinking that Heather's just sort of thinking of going to bed, and then she just thinks, Just, I just send them.
Why not? Why not?
Because obviously that's how Heather speaks. And this is really a big Finish email. She says, to Benjamin and Nick. Don't call him Benjamin.
It means I'm in trouble.
Just found your show, loving it so far. I wonder how much she's listened to. Just like 2 seconds. Well, loving it so far.
Hello.
And then the third second, it all went wrong. Hello, brilliant. I have the first Big Finish Signs of Time. We'll be getting the Legacy of Time. Also, thank you for Jackie Tyler's story, Flight into Hull audio, as I am born and bred in Hull. I've met Colin Baker, Sylvester Mucko and Peter Capaldi, who was filming in Hull. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you, Heather, but not strictly relevant. But, it was sent from your iPad, so we're happy about that.
We're very happy about something sent from the iPad.
The main topic, piece of cake. Benji, this is your baby.
It is certainly my baby. This is a show that I discovered a few years ago when I first started my voyage into learning flight simulation and flying Spitfires. And I wanted to, because I love the film. My favourite film of all time is The Battle of Britain, and I just wanted more. I just felt there's not enough of this out there. I thought, I wonder if there's a series about Spitfire pilots, and I was highly recommended Piece of Cake, which is an ITV series based on a book about Hornet Squadron, as they're affectionately known. It's a really fun series. It's absolutely one of the few television World War II television things where they've actually spent some money on the planes. But yeah, I mean, so I love this series. I've got a lot to say about it because I love it so much. I introduced Nick to it, who's watched the whole thing, I believe.
That's right. I mean, I watched it quite a few weeks back. It's when we did that other World War II Pathfinders, the Bomber Command thing.
Yes.
And which I absolutely hated and thought was really bad. But you said, honestly, the other episodes are good. So I bought the box set of that. Still haven't braved it. But you also said, if you want to see World War II fighter plane stuff done well, done right,
definitely,
you said, do Piece of Cake. I'd never heard of it. When was it made again?
So Piece of Cake was made in is the 80s, 1988. Yeah,
you see, yes, I think I wasn't watching a lot of television then because my life was going through all sorts of boring turmoil. So yeah, so I somehow missed it at the time. Had no idea about it, and it was, I mean, I first of all say that yes, I definitely give it a thumbs up. And rewatching episode 1 for the purposes of this podcast was really great. I enjoyed episode 1 even more than I did the first time. I was quite suspicious of it the first time.
So was funny enough. So was I though. When I watched it, I wasn't quite sure what I was getting into.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be too dull about it, but there's something about it. It was shot, I'm sure, looking at it, it was shot on 35mm film. But it was, as was the way quite often with ITV productions in those days, even if they spent the money on filming them, they would edit them on videotape because all the credits are done on videotape. So they kind of look like old Australian soap operas in that sense, like The Sullivans or something. Was that an Australian soap opera, The Sullivans?
No, Neighbours is the only one I can think of.
Could you just goggle it?
Yeah.
It was a historical soap opera. It was actually, yeah.
Yeah, the Sullivans, an Australian drama.
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't a soap, it was like a soap.
Pretty much a soap.
Yeah, but it took them, they went through, it was a bit like the British Family at War, except it sort of went further past the war and, anyway, I digress massively. So, Piece of Cake, it's really stylishly shot. Pretty lavish production. They've got, you can correct me, Benji, they've got 5 operational Spitfires in it, haven't they? I
believe so. 5 operational Spitfires, which is pretty much unheard of.
Yeah,
when it comes
incredible.
to, I mean, a lot of the things that you see nowadays, watching things, nearly every single film or television program about the Battle of Britain, they nearly always, and this uses it as well. They use footage from the Battle of Britain movie from the 60s.
They use footage from the Battle of Britain for all the explosions, don't they, basically? For any in-flight explosions and planes, and they reuse things. not on the ground explosions, but any aerial explosive stuff is all nicked from the Battle of Britain. And it's badly transferred from the film as well. It looks all grainy and yes.
It's often it's not really done well. The other thing that they use a lot of as well are the footage of from the Battle of Britain. They often use a lot for the German bombers because
yes, they do. Yes.
And in this is the case. So one thing to remember as well about these things is that obviously the planes that you see in this will be used in modern films. Same. So the Messerschmitts in this were used in Dunkirk, and they're not actually Messerschmitts at all. They're actually Spanish
These are
planes.
the German fighters. Yeah.
The German fighters. Sorry, I should.
Not everyone's nuts about it.
Yeah, but they're not actually. These actually aren't German planes, although they are Messerschmitts. Technically, they're Spanish planes, the Spanish Bouchons. And so the difference is that whilst they're German planes, they look like German planes. They've actually got Rolls-Royce Merlin engines in them, which they didn't in the war. So, but yeah, the Battle of Britain.
But they look right.
They look right, exactly. And in the Battle of Britain film, they had a lot of Spanish planes in there. So it's like the biggest assembly of kind of World War II-esque things. So, but yeah, this is so going back. This is what makes this interesting is that they've actually filmed a lot of new footage
and beautifully filmed, beautiful aerial footage, which is on beautiful days with fantastic light and great shots. And once you got 5 Spitfires up there, you can do a lot with that. They multiply them a bit. They cut from one angle to another to give you the impression there are 10 or 15, and beautifully done. Let's just say about the story. The story is the story of Hornet Squadron and all the characters in it. And really, the plot as it goes along is quite sort of unforgiving and harsh, isn't it? About the war. It doesn't dress it up at all.
No,
I feel that it wouldn't be quite so harsh nowadays. But this is very, very clearly anti-war, and no one in it is particularly nice. There are sort of nice people, but everyone is multifaceted. Everyone has a bad side and a good side. And it's like the story really is like this war of attrition, as it were, when so many people in the squadron die off, are killed in the war. And you end up at the end of it, there's hardly any of them survive. And there's no clue at the beginning, like in a lot of heavy-handed drama. You think, oh, he's for the chop. Oh, yeah, that guy, he's the hero. He'll survive. You can't tell. You can't tell who's going to make it. Because is it based on a true story or is it based on a fictionalized account? I don't know.
I'm not too sure. I only know that the squadron depicted is the fictional Hornet Squadron from the books by Derek. Piece of Cake is the book by Derek Robinson. Let's have a quick look to see if he based it on anything, because it's very clever what he's done, that he's not used it's not like number 56 Squadron or 208 Squadron. There's no indication of historical accuracy. No, I mean, it involves a lot of reading, so I'm not going to bore people to death. But as far as I can see, there may be a couple of examples of things, like the character of Moggy Catamol.
Yes.
Says here there's something similar that had happened in reality. But
Moggy is a real piece of work, isn't he? He's quite an eccentric character, but he's quite ruthless and selfish as well. Who's he played by? You got the cast list up there?
I've got the cast. Yeah, it's Neil Dudgeon, isn't it?
Yes, the current star of Midsummer Murders. Who he's gone on to play far more sympathetic characters. It often happens to actors. They start off playing villains and then they get a bit of notoriety and they become leads in things, so they show their nicer side. But he's horrible. He's horrid in this. Fascinating, but horrid. Not a villain, just a horrible, empty, selfish human being, really. I know who your favourite character is.
Who's my favourite character?
The intelligence officer.
Oh, what, Skelly? Or Skull. Well, actually, my favourite character is Moggy, interestingly enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's a hateful guy, but I love all his. I think he's got so many good one-liners. But no, I love Skelly, who's played by Richard Hope in this one. Again,
he's
actually,
worth a big finish a lot, so we know him. Yeah.
But actually, he's got some great, particularly in this first episode, he's got some fantastic little lines in this one, and it's all. I mean, what I like about this first episode is it's set in the phony war. So there's a lot of kind of nobody's really believing anybody about anything, and the character of Skull Skelton he's his intelligence officer. He's never flown in a plane before
and gets vertigo and doesn't want to fly.
It's unnatural. And it's a fun series, and I'm just looking at the cast. There's an awful lot of. It's a big cast, and the amount of things saying killed.
Yeah, little crosses next to them, little skull and crossbones next to each character.
But it's the reality, isn't it?
Lots of famous actors, lots of actors who were yet to become. Jeremy Northam's in it as a very young, naive character, and Jeremy Northam's gone on to become an enormous star. There are lots of other people whose names I can't remember, but whose faces I absolutely know went on to star.
Jack McKenzie, Richard Woodward. Not Richard Woodward, Tim Woodward, sorry.
Tim Woodward, that's what I was going to say. Tim Woodward stars as the new CEO who comes in.
That's Rex, isn't it?
He had form for aerial drama because he did one for the BBC, didn't he? That was set during the First World War. Do you know the one I mean?
Do you know what? I've never seen
Wings.
it.
It was
Wings
Wings.
With it had what's his name in it, didn't it?
Thingy with the what's it and the doodah.
That had David Trout in it, actually.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, Michael Cochrane, David Trout.
Oh, we love a bit of Michael Cochrane, one of my favourite actors. Let's just get him in anything at the drop of a hat. Yes, the thing about Tim Woodward in this is that, you see, his character goes on a fascinating journey where it's not, you think he's going to be one thing, and then you think you're going to feel one thing about him, and then you end up feeling something completely different a few episodes later. Nothing is sacred in this. It has that's why I asked if it was a real story, because there doesn't seem to be, it has that beautiful quality of not seeming to have been planned by a script committee who work out what the beats should be and how important this emotional moment should be. And it's not, it's dangerous. It seems to be very random, and it feels like it's the relating of the meaningless real events that happened, Absolutely. And I think the writing is really, if it's not taken from real life events but just from examples of them, I think that the writing is very clever, because it's a very, as I keep saying, I think a very unforgiving show in its storytelling, and that kind of thing just does not get made anymore. And I'm sure that a lot of modern TV execs would look at it and go, no, that's, you can't do that. You can't, you're not rewarding the audience and the anticipate. No. And they don't take any notice of any of those rules. They just slap it there. And it's disconcerting for a modern audience member to watch it, but you're cushioned by the fact that it's really, really well made. It's got a fantastic score. And I think they've got a big orchestra playing it, haven't they? It's like the London Philharmonic or something.
It's all very sophisticated, isn't it, in a way, from the score.
Sort of ahead of its time, in a way. They weren't doing much television like that at that point.
Of course, the irony, of course, is that I don't believe it was ever shown again. As far as I can see, it got broadcast. I think they screened it in Australia in 1990, but it's not actually ever been anywhere. It's just out on DVD now, which is a shame.
But I mean, they showed it on ITV, presumably, did they? But
when it was released, yeah. But in a way, it's a shame that this series hasn't really got much. It hasn't lived on. It's not had I suppose maybe in the aviation circles, people probably watch it. I mean, it was recommended to me by people that are into that thing. But it doesnn't seem to be one that people really remember, which is a shame. Especially given
shall I tell you why?
Go on then.
I mean, this sounds like a massive criticism, but I kind of love it for this. It's charmless. It's got no charm to it at all. It's quite horrid. I mean, I don't mean ghastly, no body horror or anything like that. It's just, and I really applaud it for its bluntness.
Clinical in some respects, isn't it?
Yes.
I think it's actually quite... One thing that is nice about it is... like when you see a lot of these wartime things, and they're very nostalgic about the Second World War, and you get really into that whole dance halls and
yes.
Lovely rich summertime and bees buzzing around, and it's the war, but everybody's got that spirit. Whereas in this, it feels fairly... It doesn't feel like a very pleasant environment to be around.
No.
I mean, there are times like there's some lovely stuff in France and everything, but a lot of the time you just feel like you're in this grim situation with these people, and actually, especially with a lot of the class differences in this, and there's a lot of conflict in that way. It's not a nice environment to be in at all. That's the one of the big things, really. It's not.
I think you're spot on. There's a lot of prejudice, stupidity, and ignorance. Which is sort of, there's a bit of dramatic irony for the audience because they know stuff that the characters don't know, thinking, I wonder whether the Germans will try to invade France. Anyway, we've got the Maginot Line. You just think, this is going to go badly. I thoroughly recommend it. And the more I talk about it and the more, watching it again, I liked it twice as much as when I watched it the first time. I think it's really worth getting. You can get it on DVD. It's really worth the price.
A hidden gem.
Yeah, if you love really good drama that's, not cozy. But don't get me wrong, it's not uncomfortable and it's never boring. It's always engaging. And just when you think, these characters, they're so unlikable, they're just fascinating. They fascinate us. The raw humanity of them in all its good and bad forms is fascinating, and I will watch it all again.
Definitely. I mean, one thing, towards the end, I think it's the last episode, they're in a different location. They're at this airfield. Well, I only discovered this.
It's quite grim there, doesn't it?
It is grim, and I only put two links together because last week I went for a walk up in a place called Friston, which is 20 minutes away from where I live. Because I'm exploring now. I've got a new dog called Rosie, who's a lot younger, who likes to walk, whereas my old dog was 13 and wouldn't go very far. So I'm exploring the walks, and Friston's 20 minutes away, and it was that particular location was filmed at RAF Friston, which is up the top there. There's an old abandoned building and just a little stone there that says RAF Friston was here.
Wow! But I want to see photos.
Well, there's not a lot, but I'll certainly go up and take a photo for you. Yeah. But that's where they filmed that final episode. It was all up there. They took the whole, because of course it's lovely. It was by the Seven Sisters, so we've got all the white cliffs. So a lot of people film it as if it was Dover, but you don't have to pay for. It's not. You don't have to pay for it being Dover, but
you don't have to pay Dover rates.
No Dover rates. No massive vans and lorries going through and big old grotty old. What's it? Dan's Ferry Link or My Ferry Link? It's called, that company that ferries people. Like every time I see it, I go, it's not his, it's mine. My Ferry Link. But
they speak in Dover.
Yeah, My Ferry Link. All my family are from Dover. I found out as well the other week that my great grandfather was born in a pub in Dover. So there we go.
Good Lord.
And his father served on, I think I might have mentioned this probably in last week's play, his father served on the HMS Olympic, which is Titanic's sister ship.
I don't think you did mention it last week, but that's interesting. I've got to talk to you about that when the microphone's not facing in our direction.
Definitely, it's an interesting one. I know loads of information, but yes,
my grandfather worked on the Cunard ships. But anyway,
well, they might have crossed paths. You never know.
I don't know. The bitter rivals, Cunard and White Star, weren't they? Until they amalgamated, I think. But anyway,
and then there was no rivalry. But piece of cake.
I've got a question though.
Okay.
I've got to get my Spitfire model, which, funnily enough, my dinky Spitfire model, that's a make of toy, which I've got here.
I used to have one of those.
Spitfire Mark II, it says. Dinky Toys, Meccano, made in England. So here, look, I'm holding it up. You can see it there.
Gorgeous, the silhouette, the elliptical wings.
And I nearly knocked off the transfer of the thing. It's very, very old. This was bought in, 1970 or something. On the back of the film, the Battle of Britain. Now, the wings here, on some of the Spitfires in Piece of Cake, they're the cannons, aren't there? The larger guns with the larger ammunition, larger caliber ammunition. What caliber was that, by the way?
Caliber? Oh, God, is it 35 or 16?
Well, they started off... Oh, excuse me, I'm going to put it back now. Good landing there, well done. They started off with firing bullets that were the kind of bullets that were fired from normal soldiers' guns, Lee Enfield rifles, that small caliber, .22. I don't know what it is. I'm not knowledgeable.
303-inch machine guns here.
Oh yeah, so they could just pepper a bomber with it. Whereas they progress to the rounds where you can hold them, and you could hold them like that in your hands. If you cup your hands, it's sort of
big old things.
And those things, if they fired that at an enemy plane, they would rip it to shreds if they hit it and bring it down. So I'm thinking that those big cannons that stick out like pointy bits from the wings, they're the ones they brought in later. And what I notice, and this is leading to my dull question that please fast forward through, folks, is that I fancy, in order to get 5 operational Spitfires to film, they're different types of Spitfire. They're not the correct type they would have been at the beginning of the war. That's what I'm saying.
Definitely. There's obviously, you're going to have Spitfires. Some of these planes post-war Spitfires, I believe, because of course Spitfires were made after the war. Interested with those cannons, they were actually around. Technically, you could say that in the early like Mark 1s and 2 Spitfires, I think some of them had cannons, but they were testing them, and apparently it didn't go, like there was like the 20mm cannons. I don't think it went particularly well. I might be making that up, but I'm fairly certain from memory, like they had it and they had problems, then they had to sort of take them away and redo them again.
Sort it out later.
But you are spot on. Yeah, it's I mean, if you want to be really careful in terms of historical accuracy in this one, they've got a lot of Spitfires there without any numbers on the side, and they very carefully in this first episode say, yes, well, do you mind taking the numbers off those planes? Yes. We don't want any incidents happening again.
Because they have a friendly fire incident in the first episode, don't they? Their first attack. Anyway, I won't spoil it for you folks. Just, I think 5 exclamation marks from me.
God, yeah, 5 from me. Well worth a watch if you're into the war, or if you just like classic telly.
Great drama. Listen, time is marching on. Competition. This has been offered by Rick Davey of The Unmutual, who is our jolly good friend. This is for Cutting Edge, a book. Cutting Edge, My Life in Film and Television. It's the autobiography of director and editor Eric Mival, or is it Mival? Mival. I really should have asked how to pronounce the gentleman's name.
I feel like it should be Mival.
Let's go with that. Eric was music editor on the Prisoner TV series and became a lifelong friend of Patrick McGowan. Amazing. And over a third of the book is dedicated to life behind the scenes on the series The Prisoner. Eric also worked on series such as Doctor Who and Strange Reports. That's Anthony Quayle and Anneke Wills were stars in that, for Doctor Who fans who know Anneke Wills, as well as many classic films such as Wonderwall and The Three Worlds of Gulliver. Oh, yes, an amazing epic that's been on Talking Pictures TV in the UK recently. And all are covered in the book, published by coitmedia.co.uk. Go and check them out. The question is, Eric was the man responsible for a Beatles song appearing in the final Prisoner episode Fallout. Which Beatles song was it? There you are.
It's a fun question.
It is, isn't it? The closing date for that will be Friday the 14th of September this year, obviously, 2018. And do send your entries to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. And the subject line is Coit, which is spelt Quoit. Coit. That's the subject line for this competition, and you can win this rather splendid book, absolutely packed with fantastic insights and anecdotes. Benji,
marvellous stuff.
What are we going to talk about next week? Did you have a sneaky thing in your head?
I didn't.
I've sort of.
But I think that you did, so I'm waiting for your sneaky thing. Yeah.
I might have mentioned it earlier. Well, who was I talking to? Oh, I know someone I know tweeted something about this series and a particular episode of it. And I said, oh, that almost makes me want to go and buy the box set. And they tweeted back and said, almost. And I thought, no, actually, definitely. So I went to Amazon and clicked the one-click buy. That thing where you just buy something with no guilt because it just happened. I just clicked something. I don't have to enter my credit card
exactly
details.
That, isn't it? Yeah.
They've got you, haven't they, Amazon? Anyway, and it's a series that you may have heard of, Benji. And we must go back to science fiction at some point. We're getting all wartime at the moment, which is Colditz.
I've got the box set Got the box set. Got it, mate.
I just got a notification it's being delivered tomorrow morning. I'm getting very excited.
Oh, it's absolutely superb series, that one.
Yeah, I'm visiting my mum tomorrow, so I won't have time to watch it tomorrow. But anyway, I've got a week. So I think I can't watch the whole series, obviously. I think let's do the first episode just for the hell of it.
Why not? Yeah, why not? I think if you get that DVD box set, I think it comes with some commemorative postcards.
But they all come
in like some. It's like some. I'm sure of it. It's like some fun thing, like your guide to escaping Colditz. It's rather.
Well, yes, Colditz. For those of you who don't know, was a huge castle in Germany. It was definitely in Germany, wasn't it?
Yeah, Colditz Castle.
Yeah, it was used as a prisoner of war camp during the Second World War, where the Germans famously imprisoned all the chaps who just kept escaping from everywhere else and were just a pain in the neck. So they put them in a castle, because most prison camps were made of huts and barbed wire around them, but people kept digging tunnels and jumping over, whatever. So yeah, this is for the real hard cases in Colditz. So it's a bunch of escape addicts.
Yeah, who exceptional escapists. But just you're saying about us doing wartime things. I think we can safely say though that Colditz, whilst Piece of Cake perhaps is a forgotten wartime thing, Colditz very much is, I think, a cult television series which people do remember
in the day.
Exactly, it was huge in the day, and it's still very much appreciated and talked about now. It's not one to be forgotten. It's a cracker.
Well, I've just had a word with the Commandant, and he's not awfully happy about all this escaping business. I seem to remember there was a lot of that. It was all very gentlemanly in places. Time to get close to the microphone.
Aye, brother, it's just time. Aye. Well,
looking forward to next week.
Oh, so am I. You got me. That's going to be something to look forward to throughout the week.
I just want to say, Benji, what a pleasure it is to chat.
Oh, isn't it just? It's so nice to have an excuse to watch television, old and new, and have a lovely chat with you about it, Nick. And like two old friends down a pub, but instead it's 2:29 in the day and we're drinking tea, but I'm drinking tea from my Spitfire mug.
Oh, there's some bombers on there. I've just got water at the moment. A plane just flew over. How fortuitous. I love those plane noises you do. Anyway, so that's it, isn't it, for this week?
Indeed.
I hope we're inspiring you all to watch some nice telly and have a chat about it. And do send in your emails to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com, and we can sort of chat with you in a virtual way. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate and review us and subscribe and all that malarkey. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta, tally-ho, and goodbye.
Pressing stop now. Ka-chung.